when your aunt fell down?
Great aunt. And I don't believe it was a fall. Push.
A push?
There's a great deal of anger in this house. And pain. Don't ask me what about. I know nothing of the details, being considered far too young and sensitive for such matters.
You're listening to Midsomer Murders Mayhem, the official podcast for the hit global television series Midsomer Murders. I'm your host, Nicki Chapman. In this podcast, I get to examine the Midsomer Murders television series in audio form, one nail-biting episode at a time. Spoiler alert, we leave no stone unturned, no evidence unchecked, no suspect unquestioned. So, if you haven't seen the episode in question, I suggest you do it right now. In this episode of Midsomer Murders Mayhem, we're going to be taking a forensic look at the ghosts of Christmas past from season 7. So, it's Christmas, and the troubled Villers family get together 9 years after the death of magician and eldest son Ferdy Villers. First, a cracker riddle predicts that 2 people will die before midnight on Boxing Day. Then, frail Lydia Villers is hospitalised after a fall. As Barnaby abandons his Christmas pudding with the in-laws to investigate, it seems that ghosts from the past and a cunning sleight of hand are haunting the household. Helping me this week is award-winning Scottish comedian, actor, presenter, and most importantly, die-hard Midsomer Murders enthusiast, Ashley Storrie.
Listen to his Midsomer. Me and Nicki could play true crime podcasters who live in Badger's Drift and get murdered while doing a podcast about the murders in Midsomer.
Oh, yes! Coming up, we're going to be hearing from Laura Howard, aka the delightful Cully Barnaby.
It's absolutely ridiculous that many people get murdered in the space of 2 hours. But that's the genre. I think it's wonderful.
We'll also hear from Scott Bryan, our in-house TV critic.
Don't get any ideas. I'll be a terrible murderer anyway.
Plus, we'll finish things off with a round of our superfan face-off quiz, hosted by Ashley and featuring contestants from around the globe.
A riddle in the Christmas cracker says that each heartless liar with blood on their hands will be dead by when?
Can I say bong?
You can say bong at the most polite buzz. Can I say bong? Yes, Alex, you can say bong. What's your answer?
Also, be sure to stick around for the end where we tie up any of those loose ends, wrap everything up, announce exactly who committed the murderous crimes, and how Barnaby solved them. Ashley, always good to have you by my side. And are you a big fan of Christmas?
I like the paper hats and I like the presents, and that's about it. What about you, Nicki?
Oh, mulled wine, tick. Turkey, tick. I could have both of those 12 months of the year, is the honest truth. Love buying presents. Don't mind receiving them, but normally if I've picked them. Control freak. So yes, I think I do quite like Christmas, actually. Yeah, I quite like it. I like the run up to Christmas and Christmas Day. Yes, I do. But by Boxing Day, I'm done. I want to take the decorations down, but that's a bit bar humbug, isn't it?
I tell you who doesn't like Christmas. The Villiers family.
This is a tricky episode, isn't it? Because it starts off so well. You know, you get that setting, don't you? A beautiful country village, everybody out. The children are there singing their hearts out. There's a brass band. Everybody's feeling very, very festive. And then it all sort of changes.
Yes. Well, we start this episode right in the past. We start this episode, 9 years ago?
9, yeah.
When the dog's a puppy. And this poor man, Ferdy Villers, who is a magician, which is a burden for any human being. And I find this episode so hard, Nicki, because I have so many strong feelings about the people of the magic community. No disrespect to you, but I've dated a few magicians.
Have you?
And it's never been fun. They like their secrets to magicians. Lots of tall hats and capes. Too many, Nicki, some might say.
Sleight of hand, yeah.
Ferdy. It's 9 years ago. It's Christmas. He shoves the puppy out the door and he does something terrible. takes his own life, and it's very sad indeed. And then we flash forward, and I can't wait to talk about why this episode is my favourite episode.
Oh.
Because I know that it's maybe not your favourite episode.
No, it's not. But I tell you what, I got really distressed because Ferdy does take his own life, as you say. They're sort of doing the Christmas tree out in the garden because everybody has 3 acres with a huge, great Christmas tree with lights on it. But what really upset me with the opening of this show is the Ghost of Christmas Past. It's the dog, the puppy, whimpering at the door with tinsel round its neck. I found that really distressing, but it also hooked me in because you sort of know what's going to happen, but then you see the blood coming under the door and you just think, yep, we are 40 seconds in and we've got our first murder.
Yes, we've got our first death at 40 seconds in. Then we flash forward to the present day and we meet the rest of the Villiers, blah, blah, blah. But Tom Barnaby... He has one of my favourite Tom Barnaby scenes in the history of Midsomer Murder. It's Christmas time. The in-laws are in town. Joyce is making a roast. He's had a couple of half pints. He's ready to party. He's sauntering through the police station and just a random woman comes up and mouth kisses him. Like, kisses him right on the mouth. Kissing lips.
There is a definite kissy lips moment with Barnaby, who's happily married.
A strange woman in the workplace. Yes. I've never seen it. It's a generational thing. Maybe I'm too woke. I've never in a workplace seen people just kissy lips. Just because it's Christmas.
And he really...
Joyce would be furious.
He enjoys it as well. He's got that little melt in his eyes, hasn't he? When he looks across, he's like, oh, he loves it. And D.S. Scott's like, what? That's my boss.
Yeah. Yes. D.S. Scott is like me, like, shooketh. Anyway, that was my main takeaway from this episode, is that Barnaby got kissy lips with a random woman in his workplace.
But there was a lovely moment where he's still got his hat on in the car. And that's a side of Barnaby you don't normally see. He gets home full of Christmas cheer, shall we speak. And then the realisation is that the in-laws are just about to arrive.
No sign of them yet. Enjoy it while you may.
I heard that. You will try to be patient with him this year, won't you? He doesn't always know what he's saying.
Cool. Not much he doesn't. Oh, he's brought the monopoly.
I love that. I love Barnaby's face when Muriel and Douglas turn up and then he turns around to Joyce. He went, they've bought the monopoly. As if like that's the final nail in the Christmas coffin. Do you know what? There are some brilliant observations and lines in this episode because so many people, let's be honest, and I love my family, I love you all dearly and we never ever fall out, but a lot of people struggle having distant relatives come to stay. And his face, I think, sums it up the whole episode. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I think this episode does a wonderful job of showing how difficult it is to come home for Christmas. Because that's the whole turn of the episode. We've got sidetracked by the side plot once again. I'm always just focusing on Barnaby and Joyce and what they're up to and not paying attention to the murders. But the main story is a young man called Aidan and his girlfriend Emily coming home to stay at his mother's luxurious house, the same house where we witnessed the death 9 years before of Ferdy. And they have that horrible moment. This is probably my least favourite, but also my favourite in a cringy way clip from the show. But it is the young man Aidan coming back and saying, oh, Mum, but all my other friends let their girlfriends sleep over when they come home for Christmas. And she won't let them sleep in the same bed.
She comes out with that immortal line, doesn't she? And it is, no bonking until you've tied the knot.
Oh, come on, Mummy, please. When any of my friends go home with their girlfriends, their parents always put them in the same room. I mean, you know what the score is.
You can do what you like in your grubby little flats at university, but when you're in my house, it's a no bonking till you've tied the knot raw. Sure, Emily can survive without your attentions for a couple of days. For God's sake. Aunt Lydia. Will you stop this silliness now? I will not have you ruining Christmas. Do you understand?
That is a brilliant clip. Because you literally go from no bonking to and for a second I thought, it is lovely Aunt Lydia, but it sounds like something else because Aidan and Emily start off so randy, don't they? They come in full of the joys or the Christmas spirit. They've driven through the village and then suddenly it all gets taken away from them and life changes.
I don't think there's anything worse than an adult man calling his mother mummy. And I don't know why, but when I was watching this, it made me laugh out loud that this adult man saying, please, can I sleep in a room with my girlfriend so that we can have grown-up time, is doing so with the word mummy at the beginning of the sentence.
Yeah.
It's so oxymoronic.
Sadly, the lack of bonking, and I think everybody around the globe knows what bonking means. It's a very British word, but it means getting intimate. There we go. But he starts off as a young buck full of the joys of spring, and then literally his character just goes into this sulking, 20-year-old who's at university, although he does look like he's in his 30s. He completely changes character. So I feel quite sorry for him because it just seems to get worse and worse. But back to the plot.
Aidan and Emily have come back to the Villiers home, Draycott Hall. Stunning hall.
But the rest of the family, they all get together, don't they, Ashley? They've all come in. We've got Ross, who's been travelling around the world and inherited quite a lot of money and worked in the city. Ross has decided to grow his hair long and he comes back. And Jennifer, who's the eldest daughter of all the siblings, literally is fussing over him like a mother hen. So you know there's like a slightly uncomfortable relationship between the two because he hasn't been around literally since Ferdy died. And here he is back. So Jennifer's in her element. She's in this dilapidated family home that needs so much money spent to it. So she's there. Obviously Aidan's there with his girlfriend, but also Ross is back and Kate is there with her husband as well. And Kate is the other sibling. So they're all together.
And Kate has a son, Howard.
Yeah, little Howard is Kate's son, who I'm not going to call him precocious because if you are watching this one, he has the best lines ever, delivered brilliantly. Yeah, absolutely. I love him. Every time he made me laugh. I mean, he gets told off for everything, number one, but that's the youngest, that's their job, isn't it, to get told off. And I do think, Ashley, if we revisit this in 15 years' time, he will be DS Howard Frears, won't he? He will be certainly in the police or a magician.
100%. Either a magician or a detective. Not a lot of difference between the two.
No,
but he's got a very keen mind and keen eyes, and he's very observant and he knows what's going on. He knows something's afoot. Yes. And he has a good sense of justice as well. Great character. So we've got the Villiers, we've got the old auntie, and there's an interesting aspect to the Villiers because they're old-fashioned. So even though the eldest sister who looks after the house and stays there and is essentially the matriarch and the leader, she didn't inherit. It was the brother who's younger than her, who's
Ross.
come back from his travels, like you said, who inherited all of the Villiers' fortune and hasn't put it back into restoring the house, which I think is quite rude. But that's just me.
Okay, so you've got the Villiers family sitting around the table and Dominic, the best friend, has joined them and they're just about to start the meal and they decide to pull the traditional Christmas crackers. Ashley, do you think everybody has crackers at Christmas?
I don't. I think that it's maybe an us thing. I don't know if Americans have crackers at Christmas. I don't think they do. So let's clarify. We're not talking about a savoury biscuit here, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a sort of...
It's really hard to explain what a cracker is. It's round and long and it'll be multicoloured and it'll be made up of sort of cardboard or tissue. And you hold it with the person sitting next to you and you pull it. And inside there'll be a little spark and a snap as it goes. So it'll go pop as it opens. So you both pull the cracker and out will flow a really good joke, stroke, a really awful joke, a bit of plastic that you don't need. So it'll be like a sewing kit, or it could be something to take a stone out of your shoe, or if you spend a lot of money, it might be sort of higher quality dross that you really don't need. And you will also get a paper hat that won't fit on your head, so you have to slightly rip it because I've got a massive head. And then it'll either slide down and sit on top of your ears. And everybody, including Tom Barnaby, wears a Christmas paper hat of multicolours, and That's the tradition at Christmas and crackers. How is that, Ashley? Does that make sense?
It's a beautiful description of what a cracker is. Love a cracker, great fun, bit of a waste of money, but it's still one of those traditions that you love at Christmas time.
Yes.
Gives you something to do around the table, gives us a conversation starter. And this one starts a conversation in the Villiers home.
Oh my goodness, it certainly does, because little Howard, who we love, Oscar-winning performance by Howard, opens up the joke or the little piece that you get inside your cracker, and it isn't very nice at all. In fact, it's pretty scary.
How can you tell a heartless liar with blood on their hands?
Yes, Howard, that's not clever or funny. That's what's on the paper.
They'll each be dead by midnight Boxing Day.
See, I don't know where they get their crackers from, but my crackers have a poem. It might have, I don't know, a joke inside it. It never has a threat like that. And it does spook the whole family. And understandably so, because it's written out beautifully. It looks like it's come as part of the cracker.
Yes, there's a lot of setup that's been involved by whoever put that note in the cracker. I don't know why they all jumped to the conclusion that it must be the little boy that's done it, because he's hardly got time nor the skills to dissect a cracker, put a carefully written scroll inside it, then hide it in place, knowing that he'd be the one to find it. That's a lot to expect of a child, but they blame Howard nonetheless. They all say, "Oh, Howard, what are you up to? Stop it." He gets the blame for everything. I think one of my favourite things about this episode is it's the quintessential upper class British way that I find very funny. Like the older sister, she's incredibly proper, but also incredibly rude and blunt. And it has that beautiful bluntness that we don't get to see from a lot of people. It's like you're either very working class or very, very posh.
Yes.
And those are the two types of people who are that flavour of blunt. And I love that about this episode, is they just have no filter, this family.
Also, at this point, Kate's husband, whose name, I don't know whether he's ever given a name, but Kate, the other sister, the husband turns round and says, "Anyone got a light?" His mother turns round, that's Jennifer, with the face of pain. FOP stands for face of pain.
Oh, well, Jennifer definitely has an FOP. She blames Howard for everything. One of my favourite bits of this episode is after her son has said, "Mummy, but I want to sleep with my girlfriend." She decides that it must be because his girlfriend is sex mad and starts just telling people who's Emily. Oh, she's his new girlfriend he's brought home. She's apparently can't go a night without sex, but apart from that, she seems normal. It's just such a slight, but it's so funny.
So we found this threat in the cracker. All the family are there, and it's miserable and it's cold. By the way, please watch this episode because there's so many great pieces, but they never take their coats off. Wherever they are, even in the house, even during the day, outside, inside, whatever the time, everybody keeps their coat on. Just a little aside for you. But we love the old Aunt Lydia. And she's not happy, is she, Ashley?
Yeah. Aunt Lydia's having a bit of a time. We don't really know if she is in decline. She seems quite bright. She seems quite with it, but she has her little moments of fancy and little moments of distance. She starts writing down names of everybody she meets. She keeps a lot of notes, but she also has these moments where she kind of disappears. Where's Aunt Lydia gone in her head? We don't know. But she's not having a great time. But she's up in her little bedroom, which is apparently the most coldest room in the house, because I feel like this whole house is freezing, but I feel like the auntie's bedroom is particularly cold with all the nooks and crannies.
Yeah, but she's also had a little bit of an incident before, hasn't she? Because they come back from the carols.
Oh, God!
Yeah.
They go carol singing, and then she gets locked in the garage with the car on.
Yeah. So they all go to the carol concert, and Aunt Lydia, because she's very good for her age, says, "Oh, I'll park the car." And, well, she has a little bit of an incident in the garage because she turns off the car, she closes the garage door, everybody's fine with that. They've all gone back into the house, tea and coffee's being made, and then as she walks through the corridor, because the house is so huge, the car starts again. So she nips back to the garage and turns the car off, but she can't because the wardrobe because you always have a wardrobe in the garage, has fallen across the front, the driver's side of the car. The engine's running. There's fumes everywhere. She can't now open the garage door. And also the door back into the house is locked as well. Da, da, da. Not good. Not good.
Not good. She's luckily saved by her young man's girlfriend, Emily, and the visitor to the house, Dominic, because Emily hears her having the kerfuffle in the garage and calls for help and says, let's go and help the auntie. They go, but the door's not locked when they arrive. Everything's fine. The garage can be opened. The car can be turned off. All of the problems she seems to have faced are all easily fixable. And it's almost like she's getting physically gaslit, or she's having a massive problem with her consciousness of what's going on. We don't really know at this point. We as the audience are kind of faced with either this lady is having a bad time mentally, or one of these two people kind of get presented, Emily and Dominic kind of get presented as two, are these red herrings? Are these outsiders out to cause trouble? Are they part of the problem? We don't really know.
But my money at this point, I'm just going to put it out there, is on Emily. I don't know why. I just think
same.
Something's going on here with Emily. There's history there. Although we haven't mentioned Jennifer for a long time. And Jennifer comes back in with the most scathing comment when Aunt Lydia has been rescued and is sitting there with palpitations. Just listen to this.
Well, I'm sure it was an accident. You must have stumbled in, pulled the wardrobe over, and it hit you on the head. You were confused, and your imagination ran wild. Probably because of Howard's little practical joke earlier.
I thought it'd be my fault.
Howard.
Let's have no more of this silliness. You have just had one of your little flutters.
You really think so?
Of course I do. And we don't want it spoiling Christmas, do we? Now, come on, it's late. We're all going to go to bed now, and we'll wake up tomorrow and we'll have a lovely Christmas day, won't we?
Oh, the woman nearly dies. It's like a little bit of silliness. Don't ruin Christmas, darling. Shut up and get on with it and have another sherry.
Wonderful posh people being at their poshest. It is so posh in English. I think that's why I enjoy this. It's so far removed from my actual life that it's kind of like escapism. This is like Downton Abbey for me. I think it's great.
This is like my life every day.
Of course it is. Nicki in her manner, protecting the family inheritance and whatnot. So Lydia had a rotten day. She has been trapped in a garage. She's nearly been gassed by her car. She's been gaslit by her niece. She thinks Howard, her great nephew, might be an absolute sociopath because right now they're blaming him for everything. And I don't know why we aren't more worried if we think that Howard is capable of these great evils at the age of 9. She's gone up to her bed and then we see her kind of fumbling about. What's she doing? Oh, she's got a secret room, Nicki. Now, that must up the price of a house when you're selling it, having a secret room.
I want a secret room.
Well, Lydia's got a secret room and it's rammed full of notebooks. She is writing something, then she hears a scratch at the door and we think it's Alfie, the traumatised Labrador. So she goes to let Alfie in because he witnessed something horrific as a puppy and that never left him. But it's not. There's nobody there. And Lydia goes out, and then suddenly she's been shoved down a flight of stairs in the dark.
But she survives.
She survives it. She's a hardened old bird, but it means that the police can now get involved. This is now a way for our heroes, Barnaby and Scott, to enter the picture. This is a Scott episode, one of the rare Scott episodes that we're doing. So, kind of exciting. He's a man of few words. He's also very handsome. He's in charge. He's on night duty because Barnaby has got the in-laws over. So Scott's been told, don't drink, don't party, don't bring ladies back to the house, you handsome devil. Don't go around costing, chasing tail. This is Christmas and we need you on duty because stuff happens at Christmas.
Now, there's another character that we need to bring in. Poor Ferdy died, and we know he was a budding magician, and the rest of the family really didn't want him to carry on with this career. But 9 years ago, he advertised for a magician's assistant, and the lovely Claire turns up. nearly gets taken away and thrown away by Jennifer, who says, no job vacancies here. But luckily, she and Ferdy meet, they fall in love, and she becomes his assistant. But she is tasked as the gold digger of the family, that no good can come of it. The rest of the family are against it, and they sort of set her up in a way, don't they?
Yeah, it's a very weird situation. It's not weird. I think Jennifer is just very protective of the family money. No woman will ever be good enough for her brothers. And at this time, Ferdy the magician is the eldest son, so he will inherit the Villiers fortune. And she wants to protect that legacy and that money. Again, it's a very old school posh thing where we have to protect the ramshackle manor that nobody wants, but we're all going to be really intense about it. And Jennifer's got that, so she's convinced that this Claire English magician's assistant has come to scrape away at their good fortune with her wee working class paws.
Yeah.
And takes against her and decides to maybe throw a spanner in poor Ferdy's works.
We also need to know that Aunt Lydia had got hold of a video of a wedding from a family friend, and Aidan is there, her nephew, with Emily, the girlfriend. And during this video, there's a shot of Aidan smoking. And that is quite important in the plot. But at the time, you're thinking, okay, so it's a wedding video. Who really cares? But everybody does care because it is quite important. So she survives. Aunt Lydia does survive the fall, but only just. So she's in the hospital. She's visited by Barnaby and Scott, who smell a rat. They know there's foul play at work. And then sadly, Lydia sort of mumbles a few words, but she dies. But as she dies, she says it is no accident. It was no accident. I was pushed. Do I get the job?
Oh, the kids in the movie put that lady in a bed. That was very good, Nicki.
Yeah.
I was pushed. Listen to his Midsomer. Me and Nicki could play true crime podcasters who live in Badger's Drift and get murdered while doing a podcast about the murders in Midsomer.
Oh, yes. Yes. There's an opportunity there. Definitely an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So where did we get to?
Poor Aunt Lydia's gone.
Yes.
And we are back. The family have been warned by whoever's sending this cryptic message that there will be bloodshed and that there will be retribution. And they kind of assume it has something to do with Ferdy's death, I think, because Barnaby warns Jennifer not to go hunting.
On Boxing Day, because that was in the countryside, that's quite a tradition. People used to go hunting. So they go out there with the guns and they'll shoot birds. As far removed from my Boxing Day, we stagger to the local pub full of Christmas cheer. That's about as far as we go. But a lot of people in the countryside, certainly in the olden days, would go shooting, the Boxing Day Shooting Club. Or hunting. Actually, let's not talk about hunting. The Boxing Day Shooting Club. Jennifer decides that she is going to go shooting. And this is slightly worrying for me. As she loads her gun and she fires, it doesn't actually fire. So she puts another cartridge into the gun, which means when she next pulls the trigger, it explodes in her face and she's killed instantly.
Jennifer's overwhelmed. She's got too much going on. Aunt Lydia's took the tumble. She's been threatened. She knows something's afoot, and it's obviously distracted her to do something silly like put a cartridge in an unspent gun when it's already got a cartridge in it.
So she has died. We know Aidan has gone from rampant young buck to sulky, smoking boy. He is now distraught because obviously his mother has been murdered. It was warned.
Yes.
It has happened again. Ashley, we know this is one of your favourite episodes ever, absolutely ever. There's some real highs and there's some lows on this one. But what about the cameos?
It's a big, rich, luxurious cast in this episode. We've got Hayden Gwynn, who is... Do you know she's fluent in French and Italian?
Was she?
Which is amazing. Do you not think that? That's properly amazing. Played Camilla in The Windsors, which is one of my favourite comedies on the UK comedy scene. She was in Drop the Dead Donkey.
I loved her in that.
She was in Sherlock. A phenomenal actress. She's been in Death in Paradise, which I think we should do a podcast about so that we can go and visit wherever that place is because it looks so luxurious and lush. She's been in so much. She's one of those faces that appears in British television that we love. Sadly passed away on October 20th in 2023. A life cut short. She was only 66.
An amazing
a phenomenal
actress.
Actress.
Who else have we got?
We've got, as Ferdy, we've got Kevin Doyle, who was in Downton Abbey, obviously, as Molesley, but was also in another episode of Midsomer Murders.
He's a fantastic actor. And I've got to ask you, Howard Frears, who plays Kate's young son, who's our favourite character, had the best lines in this episode. Please tell me he has gone on to greater things afterwards.
He did a lot of stuff when he was a kid. He was in Poseidon Adventure, he was in Hellboy. But I think, like a lot of young people, didn't want to continue with the acting. Wanted to probably did something else. Wherever you are, Rory, if you're listening, maybe you're a big fan of Midsomer Murder podcasts, get in touch, let us know. What did you do?
We love you.
I think you did something fantastic.
Yeah. We always like to hear from some of the people who make the show what it is. And this week, we're featuring Laura Howard, aka Cully Barnaby. She's played DCI Tom Barnaby's daughter since the very beginning, helping to add that extra bit of normality to the show. Now, she's the only child of Tom and Joyce, and early on in the series, she was a student at Cambridge University, later returning to live with her parents in Causton. She's an aspiring actress and frequently takes temporary jobs in the Midsomer area when resting between assignments. She meets her soon-to-be husband, Simon Dixon, in The Axeman Cometh. Do you remember that one, where the lead singer gets electrocuted by the microphone stand on the stage, and later marries him in Blood Wedding? Now, Laura was born in 1977 in London, and her television credits include Casualty, Soldier Soldier, The Bill, and Doctors. In addition to appearing on screen, Laura also made a name for herself in the UK theatre scene, including the premiere of The Life of Riley by Alan Ayckbourn and productions by the Royal Shakespeare Company. So what did you think of her time working on the show?
There's something ever so slightly surreal about it, and slightly mad, and yet everything on the surface appears so normal.
That's so right, it does appear normal, but we know differently. And I think in a way that's the charm of the show, particularly with the character that Laura plays. Now, she certainly helps to demonstrate the strong family bond that Tom, Joyce and her share. But what did she think of the other characters in the show, like D.S. Troy, for example?
There was just a sort of sweetness about him and his sort of bumblingness and the sort of the mistakes he made. And it's been very interesting watching Dan playing Troy and then John Hopkins playing Scott and now Jason, obviously. There's just a certain delicacy that has been found between John and whichever actor it was.
But are there any episodes specifically that she really, really liked?
So I'd say probably the ones that are my favourite are the ones where I've got to be involved with the guest actors, and ones where Cully's got into trouble.
So with this show having such appeal around the world and being famous for its bizarre deaths, that's the only way I can say it really, did she ever find herself wondering if it was all a little bit too surreal?
Of course, it's absolutely ridiculous that many people get murdered in the space of 2 hours. But that's the genre. I think it's wonderful.
We agree. We all think it's wonderful. That was Laura Howard, aka Cully Barnaby, explaining a little bit about her time on the show. On Midsomer Murders Mayhem, we really like to bring in the experts. This week, we're joined by TV critic Scott Bryan. He's the co-host of the Must Watch podcast on BBC Sounds and BBC Radio 5 Live, and has written articles on all things TV for The Guardian newspaper, The New Statesman, and The New York Times. So, Scott, it's so wonderful to have you with us. Now, Midsomer Murders, have you always enjoyed it?
I think I've had always a bit of a soft spot with Midsomer Murders, really. It's always been on. It's been on, for years, of course, but it's been a bit of a guilty pleasure at times. And it's always just been a show that is always it's very self-contained, isn't it? Like you become the detective along with the Barnabys trying to work out what happens. whilst also getting quite wrapped up in the often ridiculous situations and storylines that they seem to be throwing themselves into. It's like red herrings galore. I think it's also the fact that you kind of really get sucked into the fact that there's such continuity. So, for example, there can be people dropping dead everywhere, many deaths in the same episode, but yet the Barnabys are getting wrapped up in trying to build some IKEA furniture, or having to organise a holiday, or being involved in a historical reenactment. And, nobody is really in a rush. It's not like many other police detective dramas in which there's a real rush to go and solve the case and it's a matter of intensity. It seems to be quite a laid-back affair in which the murderer always gets detected. Everything's always sort of wrapped up in a neat little bow, but there's also never any real jeopardy.
And I think that's why so many of us love the show so much. Now, let's talk about this episode, Ghosts of Christmas Past. What do you think of the setting and the plot?
It's set in a very posh house. And I think that Midsomer Murders, a lot of these episodes of Midsomer Murders that have been very popular have always involved kind of big family disputes, or kind of people who are incredibly privileged having an absolute terrible time. I think there's some sort of joy that people have in people who have it all being absolutely miserable. And that's evident on TV, and it has been for ages, all the way up to episodes of Succession. That's pretty much what that is, and that's sort of the case here. I think it's also the fact that traditionally what works as a format are dysfunctional families, but nothing works better than a dysfunctional family at Christmas. So I think that kind of leans into that very much.
I'm not going to discuss my family. I love them all greatly, but I particularly like the foreboding Christmas cracker. Yeah, that's a new one, isn't it? Predicting death before midnight. What did you think?
So good. Love that. Nothing brings Christmas together than a sort of Christmas cracker joke that kind of gives the idea that somebody's going to die. That is, I think, the early sparks of like Midsomer Murders' absurd kind of way to die, death by Christmas cracker prediction. I also just think that the use of magic throughout this episode, because there was, of course, the magic card trick that gets pulled, but of course the kind of the Virginia switch of the garage door closer to kind of give the impression that it had actually closed when actually it was the wrong one. So some sneakery going around. I think it's also interesting that in this episode, there's a lot of hate towards magicians and magic. Like this idea that one of the family members wants to go and continue to be a magician is so much frowned upon that any memory of it is kind of hushed away.
Now, if we have time on each of the podcast episodes, we do like to ask our very special guests what they think is the perfect murder weapon. So in true Midsomer Murders style, Scott, what would yours be?
The way to do it is to make it seem that it hasn't actually been a murder in the first place. God, this conversation's gone really dark quite quickly, hasn't it? Don't get any ideas. I'll be a terrible murderer anyway.
And now it's time for everybody's favourite segment of the show. It's the face-to-face face-off fan quiz about Midsomer with me, Ashley Storrie. I think that's the wrongest I've ever got the title of this segment, and I'm not going to correct myself. Today, I am joined by Diana, who is in Texas, where everything's bigger. Hello, Diana.
Hello.
And Alex, who is in London. And listeners, you can't see it, but he is dressed like a doctor in Midsomer. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Great to see you, Ashley. Hi. I'm good, yeah.
Good to see you too. Now, here at the Super Fan Face-to-Face Face-Off Mega Quiz, we can't afford buzzers or somebody who can remember the title of the quiz. So you have to make your own buzzer sounds. Diana, what is your buzzer sound going to be?
The trill.
Okay, and Alex, what is your buzzer sound?
Bong, is that too kind of weird?
No. You're a Londoner, it's very Big Ben, I like it, it's in keeping with everything. Okay, today's quiz, it's a festive one. We're doing the quiz of the Ghost of Christmas Past. Are you ready, ladies and gent?
Yes, we are.
Here we go. Fingers on proverbial buzzers. Question number 1. A riddle in the Christmas cracker says that each heartless liar with blood on their hands will be dead by when?
Can I say bong?
You can say bong. The most polite buzz. Can I say bong? Yes, Alex, so you can say bong. What's your answer?
Christmas Eve.
Incorrect. Preemptive bong there, Alex. Diana.
He almost said it. It was Boxing Day.
It was Boxing Day, Diana. Well done. Question number 2. What is the name of the Villiers family's black Labrador?
Oh.
Diana.
I can name you every dog. This one's Alfie.
Diana, it is Alfie. I think we should do a special quiz for Diana that's just all of the dog names ever in Midsomer, because I think she would nail it and it would be hilarious. Question number 3. When we first see Barnaby in this episode, he is leaving Coston Police Station wearing a Christmas cracker crown on his head. But what colour is it?
Bong. Is it purple?
Alex, it isn't purple. I can see Diana knows it by her face.
It's yellow.
It's yellow, Diana. You absolute freak of Midsomer knowledge. Okay. Actress Hayden Gwynn plays the character of Jennifer Carter. Which other Midsomer Murders episode did Hayden also appear in as the artist Maggie Viviani? I got bong bong from Alex.
Yeah, this is one I do know. Dark Secrets.
Yes, Alex. Yes. Come on, he's on the scoreboard. Question number 5. In this Christmas episode, Barnaby's father-in-law brings what board game for them to play?
Bong, 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 bong. Monopoly.
Alex,
I think it's Monopoly, isn't it? Yes, yes.
It is. It's Monopoly, which is a terrible game and always causes a fight in my household. Also, when we get sent to jail, given my family's history, it's a bit triggering. Anyhow, question number 6. On Christmas Day, in what year did this episode first air in the United Kingdom?
Bong, 2004.
Alex, you're on fire. Diana, you might have met your match. Have a sip of your giant tea and get ready. Right, question number 7. Which failed method of murder does the killer use to try and kill Aunt Lydia?
Is it the car exhaust? He traps her in the garage and then she can't get out because the fumes are coming out of the car?
Yes, Alex, that's correct. I don't know why I'm giggling, but it's like when you get it, you're like, ugh! It's so
well,
good.
I kind of didn't expect to do well at this.
I'm excited for you. Okay. Question number 8. What item had Joyce put inside the Christmas pudding her father ate? Oh, Diana's in there first.
Well, it was a £1 coin. The pudding was a little lumpy, which then turned into £2 later.
I think Joyce is possibly the worst cook in the world, and I'm surprised Barnaby never had to investigate a poisoning in Midsomer accidentally caused by her. Also, let's not put coins in our food. Those have been touched by so many people, and it's disgusting. Question number 9. What Boxing Day tradition does the Villiers family carry out each year?
Church service, bong bong. I should have said the bong tonight.
Diana first.
Yeah.
It's a shooting.
Nice.
Boxing Day shoot. Question number 10. Final question. Which item was Ferdy's fiancée Claire offering to have valued when the Villiers told the police she stole it?
Bong, a clock, a sort of carriage clock.
No, Alex. Diana?
An Art Deco statue.
It is an Art Deco statue.
Well done, Diana. That's excellent.
Thank you.
The final scores are Alex with 4, Diana with 6. No points to Ashley. This is how good these two were. I didn't pick up a loose point anywhere. Congratulations, Diana. You nailed it. Alex, I was worried at the beginning, but then you came in guns a-blazing like a posh person on Boxing Day. Well done.
I'll take that. That's fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. What a great quiz.
So as we draw to the end of the podcast, we do like to wrap things up. So if you haven't seen the episode and you don't want to know, then just turn the volume down, please. Thank you.
There's so much happening in this episode. Barnaby's got his Christmas. There's lots of red herrings. We're being led down paths, but it all ties together at the end. First of all, let's clear the name of Howard, the child actor. He's fine. He never did anything bad.
No.
He is possibly the best character in this episode. Hasn't wronged anyone, apart from when he gets the young new girlfriend to do a magic trick with him and looks her up and down and goes behind her and looks at her bum while her eyes are closed. Very problematic. Don't be doing that again with your magic. And I'm like, you're 10. Calm down, son. So we've learned that Howard, the child actor, is innocent. He's done nothing.
He's done nothing.
It's not him that's up to no good. We learn that Claire, who was the magician's assistant, and that Aunt Lydia had asked her to have an ornament appraised by an antiques expert. She was then accused of stealing said ornament, and the only proof apparently that she hadn't stolen it was in a large book that Aunt Lydia had written in, because Aunt Lydia was a prolific diarist and had written down everything that went on in her life. That's what she was doing in her secret room.
Yes. She'd asked Claire to get it valued and it was worth an awful lot of money. But Jennifer decided that this was a way of getting rid of her, set up Aunt Lydia, made Aunt Lydia call the police and say it had been stolen, even though Aunt Lydia had asked Claire. Claire gets arrested while it's being valued. Very good timing. And Claire, because she has a small track record, the police don't believe Claire at all. She knows she's been framed completely for this and is distraught. And Ferdy puts two and two together and is so upset that the love of his life, plus his assistant, has been arrested and she hasn't done anything wrong, that he actually takes his life. And that is why. But what we do find out is that Claire's brother is Dominic. I mean, Dominic was a friend of the family, but we do find out that he was Ferdy's friend. He probably introduced his sister Claire to Ferdy. And also, tragically, she took her own life. And that, in a way, for years he mulled over it, got close to the family. But when he found that diary, that was it. It was confirmed in his mind why his sister took her own life. And that made him seek revenge.
There were two remotes, that's how he did it. He was a magician, an illusionist.
Dominic.
Yeah, and a very good one too. I guess that's how he got to know Ferdy. I caught a glimpse of his sleight of hand skills a bit earlier. It just didn't occur to me that he could kill Jennifer from half a mile away.
He couldn't have done it. He was their friend, for heaven's sake. Dominic helped get Lydia out of the garage. You think so? You were the one who heard Lydia calling for help, weren't you? Did you see Dominic open the door between the corridor and the garage? No, I got there just after he'd opened it. In fact, you could say Dominic rushed to get there first.
He uses his own magic talent to make the revenge a little bit more razzle-dazzle than we're used to in Midsomer Murders. That's how we end up with Aunt Lydia getting gassed in the garage, the exploding gun, the hidden note in the cracker, the disappearing act that he does at the end.
Yeah.
This is all very magic circle.
Very magic circle.
What I think actually happened that night is this.
All right.
Dominic was waiting outside the garage door.
Can you stick the kettle on, darling?
As Lydia pointed her remote, he was using his to close the door. And he nipped in under the door as it was closing, and she was leaving. Turns the engine back on, and then just to make it appear like it was maybe just an accident. Safety net, in case someone found Lydia before the carbon monoxide had done its job. Now, when the carbon monoxide didn't work, he waited until the middle of the night, and somehow
Alfie!
tricked Lydia into leaving her room and pushed her down the stairs.
Midsomer Murders Mayhem is presented by me, Nicki Chapman. A massive thank you to Ashley, Storrie, and to our guests, Scott Bryan and Laura Howard. This has been an All3 Media International production, with special thanks to associate producers Rachel Glaister and Gary Wolfe. This series was created by Story Hunter. The executive producer was Kirsty Hunter, produced by Shannon Delwish. The production team was Pam Muir, Ellie Abraham and Reham Musa.